What's up, you heathens and demons, you sinners and saints? It's not a Raging Atheist anymore. As of tonight, we are rebranding the channel. What's up, guys? It's been a very, very long time since I've seen you. It was like this morning. I'm sure more are going to join. I hit the reminder button this time, so hopefully more will actually get the notifications. John is here. He's on the phone. Faye the Most Gracious is here. Ali is here like every Thursday. We're going to talk about rebranding and why I decided to change the name of the channel again. Ali and John both told me not to. I'm like, I'm doing it. So what's up, Ali?
Hey, well, what I did say was if you're going to make sure you're doing so for a damn good reason and that you're doing so still within the original brand of your channel and not just like changing it to your Cherokee name.
Yeah, that wasn't a good idea.
So hey guys, so this is not actually going to be Seeing Red per se today, though we do have some exciting stuff coming up for Seeing Red. This is just all of us sort of hanging out and talking about the future of the channel and talking about the big stuff that we've got coming up. I'm about halfway done with editing the first video for Film Crusade, though Nock and I are thinking we might actually end up re-recording it because our first take was a little bit messy. Nock doesn't normally do scripts, so he had a rough time with it, and I was getting used to lighting effects and all that stuff for recording, so mine was a bit messy as well. We've got stuff coming up for the Pissed Off Polytheist response series, which I've recorded my first response for that, and I'm going to be getting it edited and done fairly soon. I've got some commissions coming from Gaelic Knox for more expressive avatars for those response videos, so there's going to be a number of different ways that my character can express herself while I'm talking, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We also might get a spot on something special upcoming from a fellow allied channel, so we'll talk about that in a bit. But, as you may have noticed, there's a face that nobody has seen in forever that just so happens to be hanging out right below me in the chat. Welcome back, stranger. Where the fuck have you been?
He might not be off the phone
yet.
Yeah,
he unmuted himself. That's how I knew he was back.
So, I've been around. Just dealing with some stuff, and it started out as just taking a few weeks off around the holidays, and then it turned into a few months off around the holidays. But Nock, I thought you were going to play that other thing before we started.
I am. We're just doing intros, so yeah. Let the audience, if you've been around for a few months, you remember John, and you remember the good times that we had, the dumpster fires. There were many, many of them. John is back. What's up, John?
Hey, everything's going cool. I'm here tonight, getting back at it. I called into a show the other day that was on In Time with Nick Suter, and I kind of wet my whistle. And I said, yeah, now's the time to get back at it. And if any of you remember, I had just done one episode of a podcast I started called the Apostate Alliance, where we focus on talking to ex-Muslims, Muslim apostates, Muslim atheists. And we're going to get back to doing that. But instead of having it on my channel, we're going to move it over here to Nakasuchi's channel. And we're going to start out like I had said in the beginning. We're going to do that like every other week. Faye, who's with us tonight, she's agreed to be a co-host on one of those nights in a month, and then on the other nights, if Faye's not available, then we'll have another Muslim as co-host. And the times I'm not available, then Nakasuchi will take the reins. And if for some reason in a given week, if neither I or Nakasuchi are available, I'm hoping Eliakai will take the reins.
Hey, I've got no problems with that.
Yeah, and so here in a little bit, he'll play the bumper for that podcast. Look for the first episode on Nakasuchi's channel sometime in like the first weekish of April. So that's my announcement, and let me hand it over to Faye. Faye, welcome. We haven't seen you in a while on this channel either.
Hi, no, things kind of went quiet over Christmas, and I went quiet over Christmas. Like my content's had a big shift since then. So just because the ex-Muslim stuff was getting really, really intense, and I'm ready to dive back into it and start going again. I think it's really important. There's still loads of stories that I'm getting every day. I spoke to someone who's completely closeted today on the phone, and they were like, I'm so appreciative of this phone call because I'm just stuck at home with my family, especially now when we're in, I don't know if I'm allowed to say the C word, but in the virus season.
But dude, we're already demonetized, so YouTube's algorithm doesn't give a shit. Like we got demonetized for hate speech, if you hadn't been updated on that, because we did some coverage of Misha Popov and his article, and like within 2 days of our second round of coverage of that, we got mass reported by, we think it might have been the NIFB, we're not absolutely sure, but we got, the entire channel got just demonetized for hate speech.
Yeah, so feel free.
Like, nobody gives a shit. That's why I said the F-bomb earlier, because I just like, yeah, we're already demonetized. That might change in the future. Nock's still, like, not sure, but for right now, like, the algorithm doesn't care. We're screwed anyway.
Okay.
Hey, just real quick, rather than have to type this all out on my phone, I just want to thank folks for the well wishes in the live chat. My brother from another mother, Maynard Saves. Thank you so much, Twisted Skeptic, and Mr. Parker, and everybody else. Welcome.
Welcome. But yeah, during this coronavirus sort of pandemic, really, there's a lot of people who are closeted that are stuck with their Muslim families and have to keep up an act. Ramadan is rolling in like a week. So it's kind of a real shitstorm for some people. So I think it's really good that we keep this train running.
Yeah, and I warned you guys before. It does appear like there is some lag. Chat, let us know if it's lagging really bad.
We had a freeze, and I hit the refresh, and it fixed it. So if you guys get a like a rotating circle and a refresh doesn't fix it, tag us in the chat. But otherwise, it might just be the communication with the server with your computer, and you might just kind of like, it might be any of the streams. It doesn't seem to be on StreamYard's end, which we're pretty sure it's YouTube.
No,
we got Cupcake in the chat.
No Cupcake. Allie is not a Christian. She's a polytheist.
Yes, I'm a Hellenist, so I worship the Greek gods. As you can see up here, I've got 2 shrines in my office. I also have a full-blown altar in my temple room next door, but yeah.
Matt, you'd have a different conversation with Ali. We'll put it that way. And I would play moderator. I'd let you back on the channel so you could have a conversation with Ali. I'd play moderator. It wouldn't even be me and you. It would be you and her. I think that would be awesome. But super stoked to have Faye here, and I'm super stoked about Atheist Alliance. And then I'm going to go ahead and...
The Apostate Alliance.
Yeah, I've been saying that all freaking day, John. You've corrected me like twice already. Apostate Alliance. I even had it wrote down so I didn't say that shit again. I don't know why I keep thinking Atheist Alliance. Apostate Alliance. We're going to play the intro, and then...
Cupcake says set it up.
Sweet. Yeah, we'll make that happen, Matt Powell.
And I just can't wait for that.
That'll be something different. That'll be something different. Right here
I
on
can have a very, very calm and concentrated conversation with most Christians.
It would be different than me and Matt probably. That'll be good. I will set it up. I will send you an email or a text message.
Or not.
Matt.
He just said just kidding.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
Well,
unless he's scared.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say when I say I can't wait for that, not to imply that it will be a dumpster fire. Just I know from past experience how capable Allie is, and I know how incapable Matt Powell is. So
and most Christians aren't prepared to talk to a polytheist, so they're used to talking to us, John. They're not used to talking to somebody that is gonna fuck them up. Just and still believe in God and yeah, Matt, that would be great. I'll message you. We'll see if you want to do it. But we're going to talk about Apostate Alliance because I think that this is going to be an important series, and I think that people should be aware that there's a whole nest of allies out there like Faye here, who you might not be aware of because we focus on the Christianity we came from, the Jehovah's Witnesses we came from, the Mormonism we came from. And Islam is a huge issue too. It's something that I want to focus on the channel more myself. And I'm super excited to have Faye here. So we're going to check out this introduction, and then we'll let Faye and John really get into the meat of Apostate Alliance and what it's going to be about. And hopefully you guys are stoked for it. So yeah, let's do this. All right. I am super stoked about that. So, John and Faye, yeah, just tell us about what you want to do from it. Some of the guests that you already have. Talk about the first guest, and I'm going to go ahead and mirror that first episode, and I'm going to put it on this channel, and we're going to start that playlist, and I'll go through how the channel is going to look after you guys talk about Apostate Alliance. But I'm super excited about this, and I'm glad that I'm going to have a chance to be a part of it every once in a while, and just I'm ready to learn from you guys, so I can't wait for it.
Well, let me just start by saying that I would have never come up with this idea if it wasn't for Faye. I met Faye several months ago through social media, and just became impressed with her. She's a warrior on Twitter, and then I became interested in this idea that you alluded to, Knock, that we have this skeptic community that is made up of a lot of atheists, but they're mostly Christian atheists, and there are so many atheists that were formerly Muslims throughout the world, and we like to talk about the trials and tribulations of being an atheist from being a former Christian, and there are those that do have problems with it with their families and with former people within their sphere of influence. I mean, there's been children that have been disowned by their family and things like that. But it's a pretty different story for a lot of ex-Muslims. If they're in a Muslim country, they can have their life taken by radicals if they're found out to be an atheist. If you're found out to be part of the LGBT community, that can happen to you also. So what we do is that first episode, and correct me if I'm wrong, Faye, it was Ali Malik, right?
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah. He was the first episode. He's a great guy. He has a channel on YouTube as well. Be sure and check that out. But each time we have a podcast, we're going to have a Muslim apostate on to talk about their journey out of Islam and the things that they went through, and how their life is different now. And we'll also offer news items, from that might not be too fun to hear, but we're going to inform you of what happens to people in other countries that that do leave the religion, and how it's much more harsh than what happens to much more harsh and much more frequent than what happens to atheists in this country. And I'll just throw it over to Faye to say what she wants to say, and maybe she can tell you a little bit about how being a Muslim apostate is a little different than being a Christian apostate.
So I think I discovered this community through Steve McRae. I've forgotten the name of the show. It was such a long time ago. But I did a live stream on Steve McRae's channel. I've done a couple of live streams with John. I've been on Nokosuchi's channel as well. And I think I made an impression certainly on John. I think calling me a warrior is a bit of a stretch. But I've done this activism since I was disowned in 2018. I was disowned in October of 2018, and I, not only for myself, but also I'm the oldest of 6 siblings. So for me, it was really, really important to put out content to let my siblings know that I still existed, and also that they had a way out if they wanted a way out. And currently there are 11 to 13, the statistics constantly change, but there are between 11 and 13 countries that are legally allowed to kill apostates under the, like, it's a criminal offense, and they are allowed to kill them by hanging or by beheading or whatever other means. It's a big issue in Iran right now. It's a big issue in Pakistan. It's a big issue in Saudi Arabia. Several, we like to call them prisoners of conscience, are being held there, namely like Raif Badawi, Sahel Arabi, several in Pakistan. Sahel Arabi actually has been held in prison for now 8 years for a Facebook post, and he's been on and off death row. We still don't know what his fate will be. And if you are not, if you're not taken down by the government, in most Muslim majority countries, you can be attacked by the mob and killed by the mob. So that's a whole other issue to go around. And aside from that, like, I'm from the UK. I wasn't raised in a Muslim country. I was born in one, but I wasn't raised in one. I've bred in the UK. I've lived in London my whole life, but I've still faced significant troubles throughout. I've been abused by close family members. I've been killed by my father. I've been threatened by my grandmother as recently as this year, that if I was back home, she would have burned me alive, like things like that. And I think that it's really important to shine a light on it. No, that's not to minimize any other kind of apostasy and the kind of struggles that you go through. I've met Hasidic Jews, or ex-Hasidic Jews rather, who've gone through very similar things to me. I've met Jehovah's Witnesses who have gone through very similar things to me. I just wish that the ex-Muslim community was a little bit more integrated into the skeptic community in general. And we just seem to be apart from it, and I want to open the door into that.
So do I.
Yeah, and that is the goal of the show, is we want to integrate as many of you folks into this community as we can. Go ahead, Allie. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, do you have any speculation as to why that is? I mean, obviously, potentially getting murdered in your home country if you were in one of those countries is a huge deterrent to somebody, say, being public. But for folks who are from, places where there's significantly less risk, do you have any speculation as to why they might not be the larger part of the community?
I'm not entirely sure, because I don't see a downside to it, but I think that there are quite a few, like, skeptic creators, we'll call them, who are afraid of talking about Islam. Because when I drew Muhammad, he's up here, everyone was telling me that I was out of my mind and I'd be killed. Nothing's happened yet, touch wood. But yeah, I don't know. I think there is a significant number of people in the skeptic community that are afraid to talk about Islam because of the mob. And, when I left Islam, I left in 2017, I couldn't find a lot of content by mainstream sort of skeptic creators that were talking against Islam. I found one or two from The Amazing Atheist and from Jacqueline Glenn, but not so much that, like, if I was a Muslim questioning my faith, that it would have taken me out,
Do you think that part of that might be because of the, like, Islamophobia and the anti-Muslim, like, hate mobs that you find in certain, I hate the word Western country, but that's kind of like the way that most people would phrase it, so I guess I'll use that. But, like, do you think that that might be a part of it as well? Because it feels like there's this sort of awful balance between the reality of the beliefs of a lot of these terrible countries and, sort of the reality of folks who live within, say, Britain, the US, France, Spain, etc., and the potential hate that people can get just for being a part of the faith.
Yeah, so with our movement, with the ex-Muslim movement, like, I've taken that label out of my bio now, because it was just turning people off. And I still identify that way. I still call myself an ex-Muslim. But anyone who may have been seeking an answer will see that label and immediately associate it to something. So I've just been kind of dissociating myself, but not really, because I still think that it's a strong label to carry. But we seem to constantly be arguing against, like, very strong Islamists and also Islamophobes who are actual, like, anti-Muslim bigots. And we have to constantly reinforce that, because we also find the people who are new to the community, who have just left Islam and are very angry often, will come in and they'll lot of anti-Muslim stuff, and we'll have to say, hey, you need to take a seat, like you need to be in the corner for a while, because that's not okay. We don't stand for that. We don't stand for grouping a bunch of people together and saying they're all degenerates and all 4 human beings. That's not.
Yeah,
how
I think that deconverts of any stripe go through that phase. Like
Yeah.
even people who go, say, from fundamentalist Christian, not even all the way to atheist, like even people who say shift to Wiccan, or just spiritualist, or say deist or something like that, right? Like people who shift out of their faith often go through this sort of almost violent flashback to try to preserve themselves from the attack that they've suffered.
I think it's a kind of overcorrection. I mean, my overcorrection was very much angry, but mine was very doctrine focused, so I didn't get as much into the whole Muslim hate. But I see it a lot. And it disturbs.
It's mistaking the believers for the belief.
Yeah, I did it. I mean, that's the channel was a Raging Atheist because I wanted to rage against what I despised, and what I despised is the religion that had lied to me my whole life. So yeah, I think it is like a natural reaction, and then you do have an opposite reaction when you come out of it, and you do lash out in anger, and you do say things in anger that maybe in a few years of contemplation and actually studying, you probably won't hold that position again.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the other reason why the ex-Muslim community isn't really integrated into the skeptic community is, for some weird reason, Christians really like us, like evangelical Christians really, really like us. Like
that's really confusing.
It's super confusing, but I think it's
because you left Islam.
Yeah,
they hate Islam.
It helps them for me to call out Islam. But I have a bunch of like evangelical Christians following me. I was on a missionary channel as well, which was also interesting because I'm down to talk to anybody. Bring me on your channel, it's fine. But yeah, this channel was DCCI Ministries. I've spoken to the lady. I know the lady in person. So she was like, "Do you want to be on my channel? Like, just so you know, I am a missionary channel." I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." She was like, "I want to ask you about Jesus." That's fine. But yeah,
you might not like the answer that I give you, but you could ask.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think that the part of the reason that's happening, like Ali said, that because you and people like you have left Islam, which they do not like, and then they look at you as someone that they can either overtly or surreptitiously proselytize to and maybe bring you over to their side. I think that's part of it too.
They definitely try. And I think that because Christians enjoy like ex-Muslim content, what often happens is that a lot of ex-Muslim creators will cater to Christian audiences or pander to them. Which I don't agree with. I think that's really shady. But I mean,
we saw something similar in Atheist Tube a few years back. There was a crossover between the skeptic community and the alt-right, and so a lot of atheist creators very heavily pandered to the alt-right, even though some of them weren't necessarily a part of that. And there's sort of been a counter movement that's happened over recent years to kind of like correct for that.
Yeah,
it's better now.
I think it's why I have like I have like over 1,000 subscribers, but I only break like 100 views. It's because my audience is so divided on what they want, and I just keep putting out whatever I want to put out. So some days if I put ex-Muslim stuff out, then you find a very different crowd to like if I upload a makeup video. It's a very, very different crowd. So yeah, I don't know.
So not to sound petty or full of myself, but I just want to step back a little bit and correct something you said, Faye. And again, it's tongue in cheek, but it wasn't Steve McRae. It was me. I met you through Topic Thunder, and had you on one of Steve's channels on the night that I gave out your information to a bunch of other people in the community.
Yeah,
Steve
I was on
there.
that stream.
Steve was there that night, but that's because I invited him and I introduced you to him. So just had to get that out,
Yeah, tote your horn, John Peterson. It's been a while. Tote it.
So I guess we're also here to hear about your new plans, Nakasuchi.
Well, yeah, and if you actually looked at the channel page today, or since about 2:00, I'm getting a bit of an echo.
Yeah.
I think that might be John. Oh, all right, I think it's better now. I changed the channel art. I haven't changed the name of the channel yet. If you've seen the thumbnail,
I'm gonna mute.
all right. That was really weird
Could
because it
not
wouldn't happen all
possibly
the time.
be anyone.
Yeah. We had so I've been thinking about it for a while. I didn't really want to change my name back to a Raging Atheist. Nakasuchi was a failure. Not, you know, I'm the Raging Atheist, but I wanted the channel to be different. I want the channel to become better and not just be about me, but about conversation and about different beliefs and the conversation of belief, the conversation of politics and how politics intertwine with belief. I wanted to take the channel to another level. Now, as Ali told you her position, John didn't want me to change the name. I ultimately decided to change the name again because I want the name of the channel to reflect the channel. So it's not going to be just me, although it's going to be a lot of me. And
Can
yeah,
I
go ahead.
chime in? I really like the name A Raging Atheist. I think it really sticks.
Yeah. And so it was
Well,
hard,
and it's
but
still going to be.
yeah,
It's still going to be the name
here.
of his response series. Like all of his response videos are going to be A Raging Atheist.
Yeah, I'm still going to be the Raging Atheist, but kind of like what you was talking about, YouTube is cracking down. I haven't decided if I'm going to reapply for monetization, but I want to change. As I said, like I was angry when I made this channel, and that was years ago. That was like 3 years ago now, and I'm not that angry anymore. I've had plenty of people like Cupcake, who's in the chat right now, Matt Powell, to really redefine that anger and turn it into something a little bit purer, which became the activism part, which is why I was interested in starting to try to incorporate Islamic ex-Muslim activists in as well, because the activism became a huge part of what this channel became. So what I really want to do is I want to get back to the conversation. I want it to be less about me. John is back, and him and Faye is going to have their series. Me and Ali's still going to have Seeing Red. It's going to be the same. But my content, that's the Raging Atheist right there. That's, if I'm by myself, that's the Raging Atheist content. But we want to get back to conversations. Ali's going to speak about some of the guests she's been lining up. I've got a couple guests that I'm not going to speak about yet. Those will be announced in the future. I'm still hoping to get some really good guests. So we've got a lot of big plans, but my biggest plan is to end the live responses that I do. That's basically my edited content. I want to transform more into going against arguments instead of people and personalities. But the live content is going to be open rooms again. If I go live, it's going to be a lot of open rooms, or I'm going to be talking about a specific issue. I won't be doing live responses anymore. So that'll be gone. And then Ali's going to have her edited series, and she'll talk about the guests she's lined up.
Hey, real quick before you go, Ali, I just want to jump in. Could you, Nakasuchi, there's a comment in the comment section from Barney Tearspell.
Yeah, DPR Jones
hello,
of
Barney.
Magic
I did hear that. Yes, I was going to talk about that later,
okay.
But we can go ahead. Go ahead, John. Read it out.
I guess. Well, it says, I don't know if you've heard, but DPR Jones of the Magic Sandwich Show has died, and there's a call for tribute videos, details on DPR Jones' channel. If anybody, which I can't imagine anybody that looks at this channel that's not aware of the Magic Sandwich Show, but that's a show with DPR and Dragnot and I can't remember. I think Floyd FP is on that show. The people over in Drags and Circle. I'm really sorry to hear that. I've been part of many conversations over on Dragnot's server where DPR was there, and that's a sad thing.
Yeah, I had a couple chances to go on DPR, and I was working, or to go on the Magic Sandwich Show. I'm not sure if DPR was going to be there, but I was working, so I never got a chance to meet him. I did see that, and I'm probably going to do one of the tribute videos, definitely. And what's up, Athena? A lot of people I haven't seen in a while. What's up, Barney Tearspell? Been a while. Shay, you're in the house. Athena, yeah, what's up, y'all?
Yeah, Athena was actually here for when we were doing the video on John Roberts. But yeah, as far as the stuff that's going on, we've got some great interviews coming down the pipeline for Seeing Red. Next week, we're going to be having Mama Atheist on, who is a brand new channel, but she has a undergrad degree in astrophysics, and she also is a climate scientist. So she's going to be coming on to talk about her research into climate science and, how we know that this stuff is going on. Because I know that especially with all the flurfers and such that have been kind of causing issues, which she had quite the moment on MathPig's channel. If you guys haven't seen that VOD yet, you should go check it out, where she told one of the head flurfers to suck her dick after about 6 minutes or so of listening to him. So she's quite the fireball, and we're hoping to get her some more exposure because she's only got a couple hundred subscribers, but she is brilliant and her work is brilliant, and so I'm super happy to have her on. The following week, we're going to be bringing over Natja Witness to have a conversation about self-indoctrination and the way that cults and such use self-indoctrination as a tactic once they have you already hooked, so that even if you have an experience that contradicts cult doctrine, you find ways to talk yourself out of it. This is all sort of revolving around an experience I had with the Jehovah's Witness missionary that came into my house a couple weeks ago. Any of you who are on the Discord, you probably saw a very angry recollection of that, but it broke my freaking heart for her when she opened up to me about some of the things that had happened. So I invited him on, and we're going to have a conversation about that and about his experiences, so that's going to be a lot of fun. We're also going to be bringing Nervardia on to talk about non-John Roberts related stuff. She's doing a lot of amazing work on her channel outside of that, and she is criminally undersubbed still despite the controversy, so we want to get her more exposure and to have a chat about the awesome science shit that she does on her channel, because to be honest, she's got some great fucking content and people are just missing out on it because they're only going there for the drama.
Yeah, as someone who is scientifically illiterate, Nervadia has taught me so much about science.
Yeah, she does really good work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really stoked about the direction of the channel, and I've wanted to get back here for a long time. I want it to be about conversation again. I want it to be about hard conversation. I want to open it up to people that I haven't in a while. I want to have the shit storms again. Like I said, a lot of my streams, if I get on at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's going to be open, and I'll just talk until people show up like I used to do. So it's going to be a lot of that old vibe, but it's going to be a lot of new stuff as well. I really want to focus on arguments. I want to be fair, and I want to be critical. So I think that we're going to have a lot of good shows. I think that we have two really good, solid weekly, or one weekly show, one bi-weekly to start. There's going to be a lot of open rooms. The edited content, I'm running with better software. Ali's running with better software. So we've got a lot of edited content coming out that I feel fairly confident is going to be daily content, and sometimes might even be more than one upload a day. So I'm pretty stoked. I will be changing the name officially probably in a couple days. I'm going to promote it for a little while longer. I'm still deciding whether my avatar here is going to be the avatar of the channel, because I do love that, and I've been told so many times never to get rid of that. So I'm not sure, but we'll see where it goes.
Which, on the subject of edited content, I am going to be launching the Pissed Off Polytheist series fairly soon. It's
the Pissed Off Polytheist.
Yeah, the Pissed Off Polytheist. So I'm going to be doing a lot of response content, not just to Christians, but also to fluffy bunnies in the pagan community, woo-type stuff, science debunks, anti-evolution shit, flat earther shit. Things, if I feel like I know something about it and it makes me angry, chances are you're probably going to get an edited video at some point. So
I do want to open the channel to the flat earth.
Entire thing.
I want to open the channel to the flat earth discussion, not focus on it, but I've turned down 2 flat earth debates, one of them being with Nathan Thompson, because I don't know that conversation. So I'm going to open myself up to that and learn as I go.
I'm sure we could funnel any of that type stuff through Ali. She would probably.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun.
And
because Nathan Thompson, I could have yelled at that dude and I turned it down.
I must say too that you'll get rid of your avatar over my dead body now.
I know. I think the avatar's got to stay. I think it's got to stay.
But yeah,
If
that's.
he's changing the name-
I'm sorry.
if he's changing his name, the avatar's gonna stay.
Yeah. I think the avatar's going to stay.
Yeah.
We'll keep it that. I mean, it's still the Rage, so I mean, we kept it similar this time. We kept
Oh,
it
we've got the
similar.
Apostate in the house too.
Yeah, a lot of good peeps tonight. And Shay is talking about the notifications. That's been a huge problem. There's a problem with overflow. A lot of people using the internet right now, and there's a problem with not enough people at Google. Google's been lagging all day. Had issues even setting up the stream when I tried to set it up early, and even now StreamYard, when I got in to start this stream, is talking about very high volumes of people. Servers are bogged down. So I was actually worried that the lag would be worse than what it was. We seem to have only had one hiccup, but we've only been going 37 minutes too. So.
And this is a reminder to the moderators, if they want to preach in the chat, let them preach. If they start spamming something, give them a warning for spamming before you time them out. But if they're just talking, let them talk.
Yeah, changes have
we've got
come
an evangelist in the house.
Changes have come to moderation upon my request for the side chats. I want to open the side chats up. Same rule as always. No slurs, but we will be having a moderator meeting. I said it in Discord earlier. Haven't done it in a very long time. I think it's time that we have one. And then I can just let you, the mods, hear it from me instead of Ali, because I just mainly talk to Ali all day. So we'll be doing that in the next couple days. Definitely. I want to get it on the same page. And I want to open up the side chats. I want people to be able to argue. I want people to be able to troll. I want moderation to be a last resort. And of course, I want people to feel safe, no slurs.
And there are still specific streams where we will say, "Hey, this is going to be a highly moderated stream. Don't mock."
Yeah, sensitive streams, of course.
Yeah, if we're talking about mental health stuff, in particular, like when we do the suicide share streams or the self-harm streams or things like that, those are heavily moderated streams, and we're going to have banners and stuff. But for most of our shit, if people want to be stupid, let them be stupid, and let people dogpile on them if they're going to dogpile on them. That's okay. Yeah. It's just when it starts crossing into the slurs and stuff that it's an issue.
All right. Hey, that'll be our channel talk. And John, we can just shoot the shit now. We got 20 minutes. Let's shoot the shit for 20 minutes.
Well, I was just stepping in to say welcome to Les Nagy. Long time no see for me.
Yeah, Les, I am so sorry about your loss, my friend. And you have my deepest wishes. Sorry, my friend. I'm not going to put it out. He can say it in the chat. It's his business, but he is on my Facebook page, and I just wanted to wish him my best wishes.
Since one of the things on the thumbnail,
sorry.
On the thumbnail for this video, one of the words you had up there, to describe the channel was politics. So, if we could, for a few minutes, I'd like to talk about what's going on right now, and chiefly about the idea that our president, Donald Trump, has picked an arbitrary date and saying, well, we'll be through this by then, and we're going to open the country back up, and everybody should go to church on Easter Sunday and fill the churches up and everything, and how moronic that is.
Of what you should be doing.
Right. Yeah, I'm actually fairly outraged about it. I've stopped myself from making that video, but I'll comment last. I'll let everybody else comment.
I don't know too much about what's happening on that side of the world. I'm too concerned with what's happening here in the UK. We haven't gone into a full lockdown, but it's basically a lockdown. We can go out once a day for exercise. We can go on one walk a day, but we are ordered to stay in our homes. But the British public are really abusing that one walk a day system. People are being heralded off parks by police officers because they're sunbathing and dumb stuff like that. But no, I don't know what the world is doing. To be honest, it's such a big crisis that I don't think there's a particularly right answer for any of it. I don't think anyone was prepared enough for it. At the end of it, I think Italy had to start choosing which people deserved to have beds in hospitals and which people didn't, which is insane to me.
And here's the thing too, is we would have been more prepared but Donald Trump, over the last couple of years, systematically depleted and did away with a lot of the agencies that would have handled an emergency like this. He gutted them. Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's really no right answer, but we would have had a lot more answers had he not done that.
You would have. That's true. Yeah, it's no argument I can really give. And for him to state a date and encourage people to go to a mass gathering like church is really, really irresponsible, especially for a political figure that everyone is tuning into.
Yeah.
Here the government sent out texts to everyone that I'm assuming has an English phone number to stay at home and save the NHS.
Yeah, I wish we had an NHS.
We've got a similar thing going on up here. We were on shelter in place. Thankfully, my husband works for a union job, so he's getting his 2 weeks that he's forced to be off of work paid for by his company. So we're in a not particularly good position, but we're not in the worst position we could be because we rely really heavily on his overtime to help support the bills, and especially because my other partner is actually completely out of work now. The mall closed down several weeks ago, and that's where he works. But we currently are not allowed to go anywhere unless we're going to the grocery store, and we are allowed to go out for walks and such as exercise, and I don't think there's a limit on that, but even if you're from the same household, you have to be 6 feet away from one another if you do. So you have to make sure that, like, if there's somebody coming down the street, you cross it. You can get a fine of up to $10,000 for getting caught doing that, and they've also got these sort of weird things where they don't want people visiting each other's apartments or houses or things, and so like apartment heads have been asked to report that. There's a phone line that you can use to report businesses that stay open that are not on the essential list. It's pretty draconian, but then again, we're also ground zero for the American infection. Like, of all of the deaths in the U.S., I think 2/3 of them have happened in Washington, and at least half of them have. So, like, I think it's surprising that we haven't done that earlier, to be honest, given that, you know, I actually know somebody who lost their mom to it. Like, she was one of the first 6 who died.
Yeah, I keep waiting for the first person that I know here to get it. You know, like, you just keep waiting. I think we're up to, like, 4 cases here in this town. I think the first 2 died. But when it comes to Trump, like, I think that you can clearly see that he is going where he thinks, or where he's being told the political winds should blow him. So at first he dismissed it because his base dismissed it, and Fox News dismissed it, and he dismissed it, and they dismissed it. And then they realized, oh, holy shit, this is a pandemic. We have to do something or there's no chance for us. So then he switched course and he got really serious. He brought in Dr. Fauci, and we're going to shut down America. And then a week later, as the economy just plummets, he's like, holy shit, I've got to turn back on America because I'm going to lose the election because a president doesn't get reelected in a bad election. He's stupid. He can't understand that these are special circumstances. So what's so outrageous to me about it is he's clearly playing politics with people's lives. He gives no shits about the people that he's supposed to be serving outside of the people that voted for him. He's willing to placate to them, but he's also willing to risk their lives because he's afraid. He was literally tweeting today about how the Democrats and the media want him to keep the economy shut down so he can lose this election. He literally tweeted that today.
Yep, I saw that.
I mean, to be fair, he didn't exactly give us the shining image of, you know, I don't even know.
I scream it all the time. Like, we screamed till we were blue in our faces to the people that were voting for this man that he's stupid. Like, how can you vote for such a stupid man? And he's narcissistic, and we screamed it and they didn't listen. And now he's literally like, I think this is actually like him talking about opening up the economy when everybody knows that this is serious, even his supporters. The diehard ones are going to follow him no matter what. But I see a lot of people in North Carolina, where I'm from, on my Facebook that are like, wait, he's trying to kill us. I mean, like, what the fuck is going on?
Back on what Faye was saying, you know, him being a shining example, you know, and you guys probably saw this a few days back. A reporter asked him, what would you say to Americans out there that are scared right now, that are afraid? And he basically, his initial response was, "I'd say that you're a horrible reporter." And then he went off on some diatribe about how, the fake news and all this stuff. And all the guy had asked him was, "What would you say to Americans that are afraid right now?" And that's the moment where a president is supposed to step in and say something presidential.
Yeah, that's going to shine.
Well,
yeah, I
and
mean,
on top of it,
go ahead, Ali.
Oh, I was about to say, on top of it, on Fox News, there was a pundit who was like, I'm sure grandparents would be happy to sacrifice themselves for their grandchildren.
Oh, yeah.
And for their future. And it's more like, I find this extremely interesting, and this is a joke that has been going on in the polytheist community for a while. I don't remember who originated it. I want to say it might have been Ocean, but it might have been any one of us, and then Ocean played off of it. But effectively, doesn't that make the Dow Jones a really fucked up god that these Republicans are effectively, lining up to give blood sacrifices to? Like, you are willing to sacrifice human fucking lives for your stock rates? Screw you, dude.
And the thing is, though, too, is the person you're speaking of, or the first person said on Fox, was actually the lieutenant governor of a state, and I can't remember which state it was, that first went on there and was on there with Tucker Carlson, and then others carried on, like you said, with that idea. And it's just, I was flabbergasted when I saw it.
Yeah, I think we'll see how this. We'll see how this turns out, but I think it's going to end up really biting the Republicans in the ass. They've been really wish-washy on it. All the models suggest that this stimulus package, while needed, isn't going to be the first. That if you really want to do what's needed so our hospitals have the capacity to take the intake that's going to be coming in, we're looking at least 3 months of this shit. They're going to, even if they don't pass another stimulus package for the people.
And that's at the absolute minimum. That's only if we manage to flatten the curve right now, with every single state going into a lockdown like this for at least a month.
They're talking about the next wave next fall. This is, once this is all over, then you're going to have another stimulus package just to stimulate the economy, because what they just did isn't going to stimulate the economy. It's survival mode now. All the economic projections say that, the world is probably on its way to a great recession. This has never been seen before. We're going to have to ride it through, and hopefully, you would hope that your leader is responsible enough. A lot of our governors have been, unfortunately, the president has been. And I think that this needs to be a major talking point in the election at this point, is that this is going to come back in the fall. Do you want to reelect Donald Trump to handle this again? That should be a major talking point.
Well, and his major talking point has been, well, the Democrats have overblown this, and so has the media, to stop me from getting reelected. And it's sitting here going, you could actually make the strongest case for your reelection by handling like this like a president instead of like a fucking child. But if anything, he is damning himself with his lack of response to this. But I want to point out that a lot of people, especially his hardcore base, especially the people that were stupid enough to believe in things like... Yeah,
depression started on me.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of the people who were stupid enough to believe in things like Pizzagate just because he tweeted out about it and things like that, right? That sort of hardcore, almost evangelical level fucking base, those are the people that are not going to do a damn thing towards helping anybody else until they hear it out of the president's lips. He's got a fucking cult behind him. He's basically a cult leader at this point, whether that's what he wanted or not. And if he continues to not take responsibility during this crisis, it's going to lead to a lot of people that were dead.
Yeah, and I need to kind of clarify. When I say it's coming back in the fall, you have to realize that doesn't mean it's going away. This is going to just keep escalating, especially with the response this president has had and this federal administration has had. This is going to keep escalating right up until that second wave. So it's not like this is going to go away and come back. This is going to be a thing we're dealing with all summer long, right into the fall when that second wave hits. We really, this should be a major contention, but that's going to be up to the American people. Right now, he's actually gotten a bump. People think he's doing a good job, and to me, it's just like I've been in this house for 9 days. Yeah, oh yeah, he's gotten like 3 or 4 points.
Well, it's because he advocated for that tax stimulus thing. But let me go ahead and point this out to you guys, and any Canuckian followers that we've got in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong. But I posted an article over in the Discord. Canada posted a bill where they approved not only an expansion of unemployment benefits, but a $2,000 a month stimulus to anybody who had been made unemployed whatsoever for any reason that might be tangentially related to coronavirus, and additional expansions to their healthcare system yesterday. They approved that bill. And that $2,000 stimulus per month is no questions asked, so long as you've been in some way affected and your employment has, and you're going to get it for the next 4 months. So, like, they've beaten the U.S. out in spades compared to the, well, maybe they might expand unemployment by an extra $600 a week here, and we only get one-time payment of up to $2,400 for couples or $1,200 for single people.
Well, and that bill is chock full of pork too for corporations, and I think there was even some
there's
military things in there, and
there's a $17 million slush fund that, you know, is basically for whatever, you know, essential to national security means to this administration. But the thing is, I will say that the version that was passed by the Senate this morning looks, from all the initial reporting, to be much better than the initial proposal that they had.
Oh, okay. So they passed something this morning?
Yeah, this morning, the bill that was passed includes, like, the stimulus packages. Any company that takes any sort of loans or anything, those loans are only to go to workers' wages and benefits. You know, any worker that made over $425,000 that last year, if a company takes one of those loans or grants, they cannot have their wages raised. It also bans stock buybacks for a year or until the loan is paid back by a company that takes the loan. So they also created a massive fund for loans for small businesses that is specifically to maintain worker wages and benefits. They did the expansion of the unemployment by up to $600 a week for workers that are affected. And there's also some additional things. I think that there's a congressional oversight that has been put on the way that the slush fund will be distributed.
Well, I got to tell you,
giving a massive amount of money away to airlines and such, which I guess is kind of understandable, but also meh. But I mean,
you know,
I'm more outraged about the cruises.
The idea that they did follow through on that, not being able to do stock buybacks, I'm kind of impressed that they were able to get that through.
Yeah, I was actually glorifying the Democrats to Allie earlier today. I mean, like, it's very rare. And I did it on my live stream earlier, I think. It's very rare for the Democrats to have a backbone and stand in opposition and actually go against the donors to help normal people. It seems like normal people did get a lot more help than they were going to get. It looks like I'm going to get a lot more help than I was going to get. Again, we'll have to wait and see. This is the Trump administration. They fuck up everything.
You know, when Trump had his first stimulus package approved in December and then started to distribute his second year in office, that's what a lot of the companies did with the money. They did stock buybacks.
Yeah.
You know, it was all the idea was that they were going to create more jobs and everything, and basically they did stock buybacks.
Oh yeah, I think so. Everybody's blaming the coronavirus, and rightfully so, for the destruction of the American economy. But the American economy was bound for destruction the moment Trump signed those tax laws.
So
Go
here,
ahead,
John.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch it, Faye.
The American economy was pretty fucked already without the coronavirus.
Yeah. It was good for rich people, and it was very bad for poor
Everybody
people.
else.
And normal people, but unfortunately, it's just half of those normal people are in that cult Allie was talking about, and they don't understand that they are actually making less money now.
But why are they in that cult?
Because abortion,
Jesus.
That's why.
Jesus, abortion, yeah.
Hey,
but here, John, I was going to read off to you really quick. I just posted the link in the chat, but I wanted to read off to you really quick the modifications to the bill, if you were curious.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So here is, this is CNBC's reporting this morning, just after it was passed. So this was their sort of summary of the changes to the bill. Give a one-time direct payment of up to $1,200 for individuals and $2,400 for couples, with $500 added for every child based on 2019 tax returns for those who filed and 2018 information if they have not. The benefit would start to phase out above $75,000 for individuals and $150,000 of income for couples, going away completely at the $99,000 and $198,000 thresholds respectively. Boost unemployment insurance / benefits, adding $600 per week for up to 4 months on top of what beneficiaries normally receive from states. It expands eligibility to self-employed people and independent contractors. Create a $500 billion tool of taxpayer money to make loans, guarantees, or investments onto businesses, states, and municipalities damaged by the crisis. Give $25 billion in grants to airlines and $4 billion to cargo carriers to be used exclusively to pay employee wages, salaries, and benefits, and set aside another $25 billion and $4 billion respectively for loans and loan guarantees. Provide $17 billion in loans and loan guarantees for unspecified businesses critical to maintaining national security. That's the slush fund I was talking about. Put $117 billion into hospitals and veterans healthcare, $16 billion for the strategic national stockpile of pharmaceutical and medical supplies, $350 billion in loans for small businesses to cover salary, wages, and benefits worth 250% of an employer's monthly payroll with a maximum loan of $10 billion. Include a tax credit for retaining employees worth up to 50% of wages paid during the crisis for businesses forced to suspend operations or that have seen gross receipts fall by 50% from the previous year. Require group health plans and insurance providers to cover preventative services related to coronavirus without cross-sharing. Delay payroll for employers, requiring half of the deferred tax to be paid by the end of 2021 and the other half by the end of 2022. Ban companies that take government loans from buying back stock until a year after the loan is paid back. Bar employees or executives that made at least $425,000 last year from getting a raise. Stop President Donald Trump and his family members' businesses from receiving emergency taxpayer relief. This provision also applies to Vice President Mike Pence, head of executive departments, members of Congress, and their family members, and suspend federal student loan payments through September 30th with no accrual of interest on those loans.
Yeah, the two most atrocious parts of the bill, the first one is it's not nearly enough money for hospitals. It's not nearly enough money for PPE, for equipment, for capacity, for new hospitals, which we're going to need. The second part is, I'm not sure if Ali mentioned it, but there is a bailout for cruise companies, and cruise companies that don't actually pay taxes, don't actually sail an American flag on their ship are going to get a bailout. Those are the two things.
It didn't mention cruises. It just specifically
it is a
mentioned
thing, though.
airlines
and
cargo carriers.
It's been in there from the beginning, and it's still in there. I know. I'm like 99% sure of it. So that's bad. But the most atrocious thing is hospitals don't get enough money. But again, as I said, they're going to have to do more stimulus packages. They think that this is going to be over by Easter. Unfortunately, a lot of the cult will be out on Easter going to church that day because of Donald Trump, but it's not going to be over, and we're going to have to do it again.
So what about Ali? And I know I'm not going to call this the right thing, but what has been decided about there's something about where they can use the military for essential production of.
Okay, so what this is there's actually something called the War Powers Act, and what it does is it allows the executive branch to effectively force private companies into contracts with the government to produce needed supplies during wartime, and they're thinking about invoking the War Powers Act to produce emergency supplies like respirators, masks, etc. And I don't know if Donald Trump has put out.
He hasn't.
He's been waffling on it for several weeks, but I have not seen him put out anything saying he's actually going to do it. He said I should, and then he said, well, I can't because it'd be a violation. But maybe I should, but we wouldn't be able to get it to people. Well, maybe I should. Well, maybe I will, but then the governors have to get it themselves. So he's waffled on it so much that I don't feel confident actually saying that there's something definitive about the War Powers Act yet.
Yeah, he hasn't used it. He says he uses it kind of as leverage, I guess, because he keeps saying that he will, but he hasn't. And if he's going to use it, I'm terrified of Donald Trump using that power. I'm not going to lie. But now is the time, if he's going to use it. And I'm afraid he's not using it now when we need it, and he'll actually use it when we don't need him to use it and for other means. Authoritarian governments usually take advantage or come into existence because of crisis. And we need to be very careful of these times we live in.
It's the Defense Production Act, and the latest reporting from Bloomberg as of this morning at 9:04 a.m. is that the Chamber of Commerce, the people he appointed to the Chamber of Commerce, are opposing it, and so is Donald Trump. Here, I'll post that article, but that's apparently the latest news on it, so he's not going to do that yet, or at least he's saying he's not.
So here's a couple quick items. Allie and Faye had mentioned earlier about, taking walks, and Faye was saying, hey, you're allowed to go take one walk a day on the lockdown or what have you. Just before we started tonight, I made some. Oh, Faye, that's you echoing. So I went to take a walk before the show and have a smoke, and I walked down the driveway of my place to go up front to the sidewalk. And I was maybe 10 feet away from the sidewalk, and all of a sudden I heard somebody coughing. And I looked to my left, and coming up the sidewalk was this young lady just coughing her rear end off, just chugging down that. And I just immediately turned around and walked like 10 feet back the other way, but the other thing is, did you guys hear the story about a grocery store that had to throw all its produce out because a woman went in there and was videotaping herself coughing on all the food?
Yep.
And then that woman actually got arrested.
Yep.
No, I haven't heard that. We did talk about people like threatening to use this virus as like a biological weapon against political enemies, but I hadn't heard of people actually going to grocery stores.
Yeah.
That's just straight like psychotic, in my opinion.
Oh, there are people also coughing on their hand and then rubbing it on like elevator buttons. There's been a lot of videos that have come out of people just using this virus really maliciously. Not entirely sure why, but
it's just stupid youth, I think. I mean,
well, it's not just that though. There's been FBI warnings that
what's that, Faye?
I've seen really old women do it.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
So there's also actually an FBI report that some neo-Nazis are doing it as well. They're coughing and spitting into spray bottles, diagnosed neo-Nazis are, and spraying them on cups and going into synagogues and like spraying it onto benches and things. And that was an actual leaked FBI document that Yahoo News got their hands on, and they showed
and if they incarcerate these people, I think that they should be tried as terrorists. I mean, that's terrorism.
Yeah, I agree.
As far as I'm concerned.
It really is.
I mean,
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say another thing. I just wanted to bring up kind of a little change of subject here, but I noticed in the live chat there were several people talking about S.J. Thomason, and I had brought this to Knox's attention the other day. But the other day, S.J. was posting a series of questions. And then now this was question 9, and it really isn't a question. It's a statement. But she said, atheism has been on the rise in Western societies, often attributable to a movement away from the church due to extrinsic religiosity. People didn't need the church to provide, but now some do. God's megaphone is calling. And so I quote tweeted her, and I responded, I find this tweet most disturbing. It implies, if I am reading SJ correctly, an illogical and troubling thesis that the COVID-19 virus is God's way of causing us to need him, his megaphone, some sort of diabolical marketing campaign.
Oh, that's not just a Christian thing. Muslims have been saying it as well. Muslims actually started saying that the reason why the coronavirus was happening was because China was punishing the Muslims in China.
Well, and I've actually seen them talk about punishing the government of India as well for the Hindutva stuff. I've seen posts about that from Muslim people.
Yep.
Yeah, I literally saw someone in North Carolina today post that y'all need to stop fearing the coronavirus and start fearing God. And I'm like, are you serious?
I mean, Knock and I actually did a really fun response to somebody who was saying you're wasting your coronavirus if you don't go to your neighbor, cough on him, and then scare the shit out of him about hell.
Wow.
Yeah, Wretched is a great dude. He's so awesome. He's so awesome. Todd Friel.
He's got the best fucking radio voice, and it is so wasted. It makes me angry because, like, I could listen to him for hours, and then I think about the shit he's saying.
Yeah, Shay don't forget all the Christian nationalists saying COVID was caused by the big gay. So true. I've heard it. I've seen that too.
I've seen that one as well.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I would say, stay inside. I actually went to the store next door today because I ran out of my cigarettes, and I had this big bag of tobacco, and my addiction just wouldn't let me do it. I'm going to go get cigarettes. And it was like the worst experience of my life. This is like the first time I've been out of the house in like a week. So like, I'm not doing that again. And now I'm like super paranoid. I was telling Allie, like there was one dude in the store, and he kept his distance behind me, but he was wearing a mask, and he probably didn't have it, but I'm still freaked the fuck out.
Well, here's the thing is in the last 2 weeks, I've gone to the store a few times, and when I go in, I make sure plus when I've gone in, there hasn't been really anybody in there, but a couple people. I wear gloves. I have been wearing a mask. And then I have these wraparound sunglasses that I put over my regular glasses. And then when I get home, I have been taking the items that I've purchased and removing them from the package, if there's like an interior package, and getting rid of the packages, and then washing my hands really good. Some things that don't have an interior package, I've let them sit for a few days before I touch them. Now, they recommended in the beginning that only wear a mask if you have it, so you don't spread it to others. Now, the reason that I've been wearing a mask, even though I don't feel as if I've contracted it, is for two reasons. One, you don't know if you have it. Okay, you can go up to 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's true.
It be in you, and you don't know if you have it. And if any droplets, or if you sneeze for some other reason or whatever, then
well, I think especially because are you still going around your parents, John?
No, I've not seen. Matter of fact, when me and Faye were DMing earlier, and she was asking me how I was doing, and I told her I haven't seen my parents face to face for close to 2 weeks now. And matter of fact, that at the top of the show, when I had to mute there for a minute, because I have my alarm set. Normally somebody would go up there at 8:00 and have my mom take her meds, but I've been calling up there and having her take the meds while I'm on the phone, so that I'm sure that she does it. But the other reason I'm wearing a mask is, and those wraparound sunglasses, is if you have a mask on, it's a hell of a lot easier to remember to not touch your face or nose, your mouth or nose, and with the sunglasses on, of course, you're not going to touch your eyes. So I don't agree with them saying that the people that don't have it shouldn't wear masks if they're going to go out in public.
John, on top of that, though, 1/3 of people are asymptomatic entirely. Like, and some people end up with such mild symptoms they don't even notice that they've developed symptoms. Like they found, Hannibal was reporting over in the Discord that they found that some people who don't develop any other symptoms can like lose their sense of smell and taste for a couple of days and otherwise have no other symptoms, no congestion, no nothing to explain why that happens. Some people are completely asymptomatic and can still transmit it. So like you don't even have to cough or sneeze, just the droplets of spit that come out like while I'm having this conversation right now, I could get you sick if I'm asymptomatic.
If you touch something and I touch it, or the droplets somehow come in contact with me. But you just blew my mind when you said one of the symptoms is that you lose your sense of taste and smell.
Yeah, for a couple of days with absolutely no other
because
symptoms.
A couple days ago I didn't feel really good for just a day, and one of the things that was odd to me, because I'd never experienced this before, is no matter what I ate that day, I really couldn't taste it. Everything tasted bland, and like even things that I love, like I had a couple chocolate chip cookies, and
you could have caught it then. That there's a possibility that you could have caught it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's the scariest thing about this. If you look at what the CDC is saying and what the scientists are saying, in the next 18 months, like 70% of America is going to have it. Like this is something that we're going to get. Like I've been trying to put my mind around that me and my daughter's probably going to get it. And as I've spoken, we're both high risk. But then again, I seen a story today of a 90-year-old woman that survived the worst experience of COVID. 90 years old, she came out of it, and she's back home with her family today. So I mean, there's you know, there's stories of hope too. Just because you get it doesn't mean you're going to be one of the fatalities. Just because you're high risk doesn't mean you're going to be one of the fatalities. Just because you're young doesn't mean you're going to get it too. I mean, that scares the shit out of me having a 10-year-old daughter.
There was a 20-year-old that died that had no other risk factors. They hit it really hard. Like, you can have a really good immune system, and your immune system is what'll kill you. So, like, if you don't think you're in a high risk group, guess what? You're fucking wrong. Everybody is in a high risk group.
Yeah, this thing is. They're just learning
it.
about it. It's brand new. You know?
Hey, Allie, I have a question that I've had for a few days that maybe you have the answer to. I think me and Knock were talking about this on the phone the other day. So is this COVID-19? Is this like like with measles and chickenpox? Now, once you've had it, you can't be affected by it again.
Nobody knows.
The answer is we don't know the answer.
We don't
to that
know yet.
question yet.
Okay. Yeah.
The answer is it's related to SARS, and SARS functions that way. So there's a very good chance that if your immune system is functioning normally, that it will be. And it appears to be genetically stable enough that we can track it. So it doesn't look like it's as mutatable as the flu. But the problem is that we don't know because it hasn't been in the population long enough for us to test to see if people can get reinfected. It does, however, seem to have an extraordinarily long shed rate. So even if you get a mild case or an asymptomatic case and recover from it, like, for up to a month, you are still contagious, as far as we can tell.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Yeah, I was reading the CDC put out that one of the cruise ships, they found COVID-19 on surfaces 17 days after the last human being was off of that ship.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I'm so glad that I decided to set certain purchases aside. Now you're making me think I should set them aside for even longer than I have been.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary. I don't think anybody really understands how long we're going to be dug in. And there's a lot of poor people, myself included, that we're taken care of for now. The stimulus took care of us for now. But I think a lot of people are going to be losing their homes, and this could get really crazy. Like, even my Christian ass dad from North Carolina is calling me on the phone one day, and he's like, make sure to lock your doors because people are going to get desperate, and I'm like, we could be like, this could be like real America cray, man. We got mad guns up in this bitch.
Tell you what, people turn out be desperate, and then now one of the things they're doing is they're letting people out of prison, which I agree.
They're letting non-violent offenders out of some prisons, I think.
Yeah, well, I agree with that because, like me and my sister were having a conversation the other day, and she was talking about, well, wouldn't that be like the safest place to be in, a prison? And I was explaining to her, no, it's like being in a petri dish.
Yeah, if it gets into one of the prisons, this is like a hotbed.
Yeah, like if one person, like if you're living on a certain housing unit, and one person in the housing unit gets the flu, everybody's going to get the flu. There's just no way of stopping it.
Well, and I'd like to address Tony Designs' point. Yes, loss of scent and taste and smell is actually really common with upper respiratory infections, but what makes it unique with COVID is that the people that are reporting it had no other symptoms. There's no congestion to explain olfactory receptors getting plugged up. It just seems to be a side effect of the virus in some people.
Hey, Faye, I wanted to ask you, so has your government taken any steps to help out your populace, with some money and different things?
There are different handouts being given now. Employers are supposed to be still paying, I think, up to 80% of employee wages, but my company has taken the executive decision of not paying me anything. So I'm effectively unemployed at the moment. But I've applied for government benefits. I was on the phone to them for the whole of this week, which is kind of like why I'm drained today. This whole week has just been stressful for me trying to figure out my money situation. But we are doing something in terms of money. There is something going on. I'm just not entirely clear because there seems to be a lot of rules. Like people who are self-employed, I think they're giving out grants to those people. People who work normal 9-to-5 jobs, they are getting 80% of their pay for a certain amount of time. People who are on 0-hour contracts, like myself, it's really up to the company what they want to do. So we're just applying for government benefits like job seekers allowance, like housing benefits and things like that. And that's meant to, I guess, keep us going until this stops.
Yeah, tell the Queen to get off some of that money.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that we should dispatch the monarchy. Don't know if it's going to happen like that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's the scariest thing about this situation is you don't really know what's going to happen. The longer this goes, like we've been in our houses a couple weeks now, we're all stir crazy already. Like this is this. I mean, I know Shay's in the chat and she's like, man, this, I understand that people need to talk about this, and I even put it in Discord. Like I want people to be able to talk about it in general chat because this is feeding our lives right now. This is what people are obsessed about, and rightfully so. They should be. But at the same time, I do want to get back to normal content. I've been focusing on the edited content, but right now, this is just what people are going to be talking about because it's affecting our lives.
All of my content has just been slightly comedic, lighthearted content because I don't want people to lose hope. I think I want to keep morals as high as possible. Not that I've avoided talking about it. I've definitely talked about it on my channel. I talked about it a little bit today. And a couple of days ago was talking about the whole employment thing because I also think it's important to document what exactly is happening. But I think for the most part, my content has just been very, very lighthearted and kind of stupid because I think it's really, really important to keep people's morals high and not create panic. I think people need to keep their their heads level, their heads level, and and their blood pressure's low. I'm definitely stir crazy. Like I've been out of my mind for like 4 days because I never thought that I would be this desperate to leave my house because I consider myself an introverted person. Because I don't think that that's true about me. Because the moment they said you can't leave your house, I was like, I need to leave my house right now. I need to be outside and experiencing nature. And the other thing is that we've been having some of the best weather all year now, and everyone's just desperate to be outside. So yeah, it's a little. I don't know. It's sucky. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's
yeah. It's starting to turn here and. They kids were outside unsupervised yesterday. I didn't let mine go out, and it was just like people no, but it's just that itch. It's that time of the year.
Well, being outside itself is not really the risk either.
Well, yeah, but the kids were together.
In a building where you could, it's being together with other people. It's being in a building where you can touch a surface that somebody else has touched.
Well, here's the thing, though. Not to disagree with you, but because my thought could be wrong, but like when I told you that story about going outside and then that girl was walking up the street coughing, and I backed off. I had the idea in my head. Now she's walking down the sidewalk in front of me. The wind was blowing perpendicular to the sidewalk. She coughed, and wouldn't you almost, in some circumstances, be more at risk outside if you're around a sick person where 6 feet wouldn't do it if the wind blows that stuff into your face?
I don't know.
The wind wouldn't really carry it that far. As far as from what I've read, like the 6 feet is technically it's transmissible within 3 feet under normal conditions. I think that 6 feet is the extreme level where if there is a condition like what you're describing, you still won't catch it.
Oh, okay.
Technically it's supposed to be safe.
Guideline.
It was just when people are together, and people have been going to the beaches and shit, and it's just it's scary. And then people are going to continue talking about it when every single day we have a shit show of a presidential conference on TV during prime time, and he literally just attacks the media and the Democrats, and it's really sad.
Do something about that guy. I don't know. He's not being very helpful.
No, he's not.
It's extremely irresponsible. I mean, we've had quite a few bad prime ministers in our lineup over the last few years with dealing with Brexit and things, but I don't think any of them, and I'm talking out of my ass right now because I did not like any of our prime ministers for the last 2-3 years. I don't think any of them would be as irresponsible as this.
I don't think any person who's ever been in a position of power, like for the history of again the so-called West, would be this stupid. Like,
did you guys see his doctor? What's Fauci face palm during the one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of invoking, by the way, back to our usual focus, Christians and churches and such. There was a gentleman on Twitter who got arrested because he was busing over 1,000 people to his megachurch. And his argument was, well, if pot shops and Planned Parenthood are considered essential businesses, then so are the House of the Lord.
Well, yeah, they're definitely arguing. They're definitely making a constitutional argument now. I've seen it from a lot of churches that the government cannot shut them down. It goes against the Constitution.
Can I just chime in for a second? Can people not pray in their homes? I had the same argument because I saw so many reports in Bangladesh. They had like a 30,000 gathering for a prayer against the coronavirus. They did something similar in Pakistan and other countries. Like, it's ridiculous. Can you not pray in your homes? There's men complaining about not being able to go to the mosque on a Friday. Like, I thought God was everywhere and can hear everything. Like, can you not just do your shit at home? I don't understand.
So as a polytheist, I'm in the same camp here. Like, Ocean Keltoy actually held a National Day of Prayer gathering on his channel, which I missed because we were doing the John Richards stream. But, like, we have been holding virtual gatherings as polytheists for a long fucking time for exactly that reason. The gods can hear you no matter where you call out to them, and many of us are solitary, so I don't understand this need, this, like, fundamental, almost violent need of people to congregate when, you know, somehow pagans have managed to do this, like, mostly online for a long fucking time.
Well, I mean, is it the case that, so is
John,
it they think, well...
Can you let Faye respond really quick?
I think it's this need to be contrarian.
I was responding.
And not take it seriously. Because these people so desperately think that this is a punishment from God, I think they think that they're in some vein protected. And they're also thinking that by asking, they'll be even more protected. So I don't know. It's
crazy. Go ahead, John, and then I got something to say.
No, I was going to say is you know, what is the idea in their heads that if they get together, it's more powerful. God will hear them easier if they're, you know, praying together. Like, I mean, it's a signal
think
booster.
So.
What is it? Like,
especially, you know, I'm not sure how it is in Islam, but like in Christianity, they do the house of the Lord, and it's God's house. I did an edited video. I finished it today and just put it on Patreon today. And it's Kenneth Copeland, and the things he's saying is the things a lot of Christians are saying, and it's really scary to the point that, like, you know, the atheist community. I have made several statements, and I made it in the video today that I don't want them to. It's not. I don't want them to not go to service. I just don't want them to die from being stupid and thinking God is going to save them. Like, you can do it online. Like, Steven Anderson is even telling his people, like the NIFB, fundamental Christians, are telling their people, hey, stay at home, watch the live stream. We can do this online.
Yeah, just get your cross. Like, everybody's got a cross in their home, right? Like, I have one in my house. Like, just get it and do your thing. I don't understand. In terms of Islam, the strain that I followed, and it's one of the reasons why Mecca is completely empty at the moment, the strain that I followed would have said that they shouldn't be endangering their lives for going to, like, a congregated prayer. I mean, Islam definitely endangers your life in several other ways, but not for this. This seems a little ridiculous by any stretch. I don't know why any, like, preacher or any sect is encouraging this kind of congregation.
So there's kind of two answers that I can give. One of them personally comes from Rilla in the chat. If Naka, if you want to pop that comment up, it's the need to be seen being devout, which, you know, there's a biblical argument against that, the whole Pharisees thing, right? But it's that idea of sort of devotion theater. Like, I know that in some churches, ours was actually not like this, surprisingly, but in some churches, like, they pass the plate around, and, like, your neighbor is looking over your shoulder to see how much you put in, right? Like, there's this sort of competition that goes on there, so I think there's some of that. But there's also, the other side, is another thing you see a lot on Twitter, and that is this faith healing shit. You know, there's groups that are actually saying, we're going to bring the sick into the church, and everybody will lay their hands on them, and they will be healed as per Bible prophecy.
Lay their hands on them. That sounds like a good idea.
That is terrible. I hadn't even heard that shit, Ali. Holy fuck.
Real quick, too.
Like, just out of stock.
You know, like what Knock had said a few minutes ago. I'm just totally flabbergasted that anybody in the NIFB is the voice of reason in this time. But
yeah, dude, like they're
on,
actually doing a good job when it comes to coronavirus. I don't know if they respect it as like a god plague or something, but like if you
How do you not know that?
open.
Did you not see Steven Anderson's video on it? Of course they fucking think it's a god plague.
Yeah, I haven't yet. But like, if you do come to the church, you can still come to the church, but it's very few people they're allowing in, and every seat I believe is 6 feet away from each other. Like they're actually, I give people props that they deserve it. They're shit human beings, homophobes. I mean, fundamental pieces of shit, but they're doing coronavirus right.
Well, and going off of what Ryla had posted and what Allie had commented about it, you might remember Knock, that big long ass atheist poem that I wrote. There's one verse in there that is public prayers about the public more than the prayer. Can't your God hear you anytime, anywhere? You pray in public to show you're together and to cast light on those who dare differ. That's what it's about a lot. You know, it's like you, a couple of you said, well, wait a minute. Well, Allie, who's a believer, said, I can pray to God at any time, you know, and he's going to, my God's at any time, and they're going to hear me. You know, why do you have to get together in a group to do it?
I mean, that's
and by their own
I've got
definition,
these
God
fucking
is
shrines
everywhere.
Right next to me.
I mean, it's the same in Islam. It's, the same Abrahamics, an omnipresent God. That God is everywhere, can hear everything, has the ability to answer those prayers. Maybe that's not the same in Islam, but it's a triple O God, right? Though.
Yeah, like same shit, just different color.
Yeah, different cultures, but like with me, like this thing is. It should be multicultural, and for Christian churches, I did a stream on it the other day. A lot of it is income. If the doors aren't open, people aren't paying their tithes. Why not? You can still do that shit on PayPal, and you'll know how much they pay, and you'll have a list. There's really no excuse. Get your money and be safe.
It just blows my mind that these like churches don't even have to pay taxes in the States, right?
Yeah, I was about to say they don't even have outstanding bills apart from their rent.
What do they need money for? For new
rent.
Fucking candelabras? Like what?
Probably rent.
Their suits, I think they spend a fortune on suits.
Well, it's rent, and it's the actual money that are paid. Most pastors, as far as I know, most of the pastors that I've encountered are full time. So, like, this is their entire work and their livelihood. So they want the money for that.
I have an uncle that's he's not a pastor. I would say probably a more of a moderate church. I don't know too much about them. They're called the Wesleyan Church. Don't know too much about them. Should probably look into them. We've had our issues. They're part of the family that has pretty much shunned me. But I mean, he has just an average sized church, right? And they live. I mean, his wife works, and I think she works her career. But they live a really, really, really good life. Like he is not needing for anything, and it's just to me it's just, I don't know, like if you're gonna believe in that, then it shouldn't be about money, and you should live humbly as Jesus did, make enough to survive and be comfortable, but to live lavishly, I don't know, it's just, to me it seems like a bit of a sellout.
I agree. I think that a lot of mosques here in the UK are actually registered charities. Not a lot of them are we have quite a few mosques that are built up, but the difference with mosques and churches, I think the major difference is that churches seem a lot more money focused. I mean, I might be wrong. It's been a long time since I've been in the mosque game, but
I think it's some churches. Some churches are extremely money focused. Some of them less so. Like the church that I grew up in, as fundy as it was, we had a small donation box in the back of the room.
There are definitely
people could put money in there, but it was completely anonymous and nobody knew how much anybody gave. Versus like places that pass the plates around, or even the mega churches where they're like prosperity gospel. If you're not donating, then you're not doing your part.
Yeah, you have your prosperity, but I would say so you have your more moderate churches. But America is primarily fundamental. Like 46% of American Christians believe in the young earth creation story, believe in a fundamental evangelical Christianity. Those churches, especially when you're talking about Baptist in the South, the Southern Bible Belt, They're all churches that pass that plate around, and they take very meticulous notes. And Shay was really quick to educate me about the NIFB. They go farther than that, than just the 10% of churches. Like, say if you go soul winning with the NIFB, you're going to be paying for a certain percentage of that gas for the meals. The church doesn't pay for anything ever, and you're constantly paying in. It's a huge fucking scam, honestly.
Hey, real quick, shout out to Puffalubicus in the chat. How you doing, man? Long time no see. And then I don't know if you guys were aware, but there was a video that was out over like the last week of Kenneth Copeland talking about the virus and telling his people that were listening, don't you stop tithing. Don't, even if you're losing your job, don't you stop sending that tithe in. And,
I didn't see that one. The video I edited today was Kenneth Copeland.
Yeah. Go ahead, Faye.
I saw that video. I couldn't believe, I just couldn't believe that that's the priority.
I covered him in a stream to where he was literally praying through the camera to heal people of COVID. Like, no shit. Like,
with his
you're
hand covered in
healed.
some kind of fluids.
How about Jim Baker?
That guy. Is he still around?
Well, no, check it out. He was on TV trying to hawk this tube of something or spray, silver something, and literally sitting there with another woman saying that it cured COVID-19, that people needed to order that because it would cure them of this. And I guess the authorities have gotten in on that.
Alex Jones, I think, doesn't Alex Jones have like some kind of silver nitrate shit that he said would cure it too?
Yeah, maybe.
Colloidal silver is a scam that's been around for a long fucking time.
Yeah, colloidal.
I don't know if it was the colloidal silver, but it was silver something was what it was called. And the other thing that Jim Baker's doing, which he's been doing for a while, but now he's really pushing it heavily, is he sells those buckets of food, the buckets of like prepper food.
I'm going to top all of that. And there are certain strains of Muslims in the Middle East that are drinking camel's urine to cure it.
Oh,
why? Oh, why? People are so dumb.
I saw Bear Grylls one time in one of his shows where they had staged it. They had left a dead camel out in the desert he was trying to survive in, and then he took the ruminant out of some stuff that the hay or grass or whatever this camel had been eating out of one of its stomach chambers, and then just held it above his mouth and wrung it out into his mouth to get a drink.
So, John,
Humans.
I did post an article in the chat, but it is colloidal silver. It's called Silver Soul, and it contains colloidal silver and a bunch of miscellaneous ingredients.
Silver Soul.
SOL.
Fucking Jim Baker.
Soul.
Like that dude raped a woman, and he's and Christians are still just flooding him with money. Like, I can't understand Christianity.
I have a question.
He's being sued by the state of Missouri for hawking a fake cure. So,
hey, go ahead, Faye. I'll be right back.
How does faith healing work in Christianity or generally? Because in Islam, the way that people do faith healing is actually super involved. They will recite over like some water, and they'll spit in it for you to drink, and that's supposed to cure you. Usually they do it in terms of an exorcism, but you can also do it to help cure or cure a very serious illness.
Well, the main way in which it happens is you have people like Benny Hinn, and they'll have like a big stadium-sized gathering of people, and it's mostly a big scam. They'll bring people down where it's already been prearranged, or sometimes they have someone working for them in the audience that they're connected with through a radio so that they can get information from a person and pass it on to the preacher. But Benny Hinn would bring someone up on stage, talk about what ailment they had, and then he would lay his hands on them and talk in tongues or say something religious, and then the person falls backwards, like swoons, and then, like a lot of times, like say somebody was having problems with their arm or they couldn't walk or whatever. Then after Benny Hinn would do this, then all of a sudden this person would swoon and fall over, and then they'd get up and start walking around where they had been in a wheelchair before. It's mostly just a big scam is all it is.
It looks like a show, circus.
Yeah, it's very much a dog and pony show. There's another version of it with a particular gentleman who he himself never speaks, but he will stare deeply into somebody's eyes, like for a very long period of time, and when he breaks eye contact, they're healed. That's another version of it. Another version of it is kind of like what I mentioned before when we were talking about the churches that were gathering. The entire church, led by the pastor, will recite a prayer together or start speaking in tongues and lay their hands on the sick person, and it's believed that all of them together can somehow channel the power of God into the person's body.
Wow.
Susan Turbin says, I want to go to a healing tent revival thing. I mean, sort of. I mean, I do too. I after this COVID thing, I would love to go to one and just kind of film and see what happens. And not be the Raging Atheist. Just film like I'm there, like, oh, praise Jesus.
I mean, I'm super interested to do that anyway. Like, I've never really set foot in a church, so I'm interested to see what they're all about. And I mean, I have like evangelical Christian friends now because I've made them through this ministry channel, and I'm interested to see. I don't think it's going to change anything about me, but.
Well, if you want a more moderate church, Unitarian Universalists or Seventh-day Adventists seem to be, like, as far as the branches go, those are the two that are kind of not
She got to go the hardcore route. She
But if
need
you
to come
wanna
to the
go
States and go to a straight Southern Baptist,
Fucking
just...
no, Knock. Don't do that to people.
No, Faye, you know what you got to do is you got to come here and go to one of those ones where they handle the rattlesnakes.
Oh, I want to do that.
My mom grew up in one of those churches in Tennessee.
I would love to come to the States, but the States have actually refused my visa twice.
What?
Oh, that's because of Trump. Just give it time.
Oh, because of being Muslim or being a former Muslim.
It's not just Muslims. Let's be honest. He just doesn't like brown people.
I wasn't born in the UK. I was born in Bangladesh. I think that's why. But they refused my visa twice. I applied for the short-term one and also a visitor's one. So ESTA and I think it's a B2 or something. They refused both of them. So
I have a friend in Bangladesh who's a Hindu apostate. He said that you can be killed there for that.
Yep.
Hey, real quick, shout out to Richard Madsen in the chat. Welcome.
What's up, Richard? Yeah, we've kept a solid tonight. It's been good. A lot of old people I haven't seen in a while. So I mean, I'm super excited. I've enjoyed the conversation. We're going long, but like I'm good till 10. I know it's like super late for Faye now.
Well, I was just about to say we've gone a little over an hour and a half. What do you think about? I think we should start wrapping it up.
Yeah, we could start wrapping it up. I know it's super late for Faye. I'm super excited. I've enjoyed the conversation. I'm excited about the future of the channel, and I'm really excited to get a chance to watch you guys and also have an opportunity to meet some new fellow skeptics in this community. And Faye, even if they do pander to Christians, I'll still welcome them because we're brethren, and I understand that shit. I go out of my way to give Christians, even the ones I despise, credit when I must, as I did tonight with Stephen Anderson, who's doing it right. Christians on the COVID-19 thing, follow his suit.
You're in a fucked up situation when you can give the NIFBs any sort of credit. For those who are interested in seeing him taken down a peg, though, my very first response is actually to the video where
don't get me wrong, he's still saying horrible
claims.
Things about it. He's making a lot of horrible claims. We're going to be breaking down some shit, me and Allie. But he's doing it right when it comes to his congregation, so I give him credit for that.
Take care of your fucking people. Stop saying it's a biblical plague, you jackass. All right, go ahead, Faye.
No, what I've found is that a lot of the time when I do end up criticizing someone on my channel, I always try to give them credit for something, just so I seem balanced, even though sometimes in some of my videos I'm just raging. I'm out of my mind because I'm so angry at what this person has said. I always try to give them a little bit of credit because at the end of the day, everybody's a person. Everybody has reasons for what they do and how they are. And, I believe that it's important to highlight that. One of the people that I used to have frequent arguments with, I don't know how well he's known here, but in the ex-Muslim community, he's very well known. Ali Dawah, I used to have frequent arguments with him. A lot of us used to have frequent arguments with him. When I actually had a conversation with him in person, he was like a puppy. I just felt so bad for him because it was so obvious to me that he was hiding a lot of his personal issues behind this whole preacher get up. So I just found it, so after that, after talking to him, I just found it really, really difficult to like really dig into him, because I could see a struggle there.
Yeah, well, for me, I try to do the same thing too, and it's one of the reasons why I've wanted to change my name from the Raging Atheist. I still want Rage to be a part of me. Rage is a part of my personality. You know, don't take it the wrong way. I say this metaphorically, but you know, I used to believe I had bear spirit. I still believe I have that bear spirit because that's just my personality. I'm very emotional, and I express my anger instead of hold it in. I used to hold in my anger and I punched walls. I self-harmed. Now I just get it out. But I'm a secular humanist, so I could be just like in a fucking rage against you and still appreciate you for the human being that you are, even though you hold atrocious beliefs that I would have to stand against forever. I would never wish harm upon you. And I think sometimes go out of my way a little too far trying to grasp for some credit with those types of individuals, especially just to say, hey, I'm being fair here. I'm not being biased. You're reprehensible, but here's something that I can grasp onto that makes you a human being to me.
Yeah, I think personally for me, my relationship with rage, like a lifetime ago, I had a very physical way of dealing with my rage, and I've stopped that. I've very much converted it into much more creative ways, and I personally think my anger has it's been a catalyst for me to do great things. I think there are
me too.
A lot of things that I wouldn't have done if I didn't have the level of anger that I have. And honestly, if I'm being completely real, it's very difficult to make me angry. I'm an extremely patient person with most people. It takes a lot for me to get to a point where I'm just out of my mind seeing red angry. But anger has pulled me a long way, and I think it's a very undervalued emotion.
I do too. I want to harness it positively.
Yeah.
And I try to. I've failed on a few occasions, but I try to harness it positively. And I'm really trying to grasp onto that secular humanism, that we're all human beings, that we all have flaws, and that you still have as much merit as I do, and let's have this conversation, but still have that anger and utilize it when necessary, and when I shouldn't. I think that's been my issue.
Well, one thing you can do if you want to utilize it in a more positive fashion is when it comes to emotions, anger is actually a secondary emotion. There's always underlying emotions, underlying motivations as to why you get angry. And so if you can pin that down, where the anger is coming from emotionally, behind the anger, then that can help you to, focus it.
Well, yeah, I already have. I have a pretty good psychological read on myself. So, like, usually I get triggered when I come across people that have the open bigotries that I used to have and I overcame. And when I say triggered, I mean I respond to them harshly because it's what it took for me, and it took life experience. And I strongly believe that when you come across certain types of people, if you don't speak with authority and with anger to let them know just how reprehensible their ideas are, then you'll never actually have the opportunity to get through to them. That being said, I think that it takes both. And I think that it takes several types of people to reach people sometimes. So sometimes you need rage, but then sometimes you need that really, really, really smart intellectual that can combat you on a philosophical level or on a science level. So I think that that's what makes this community so unique, is that we can be different and still stand for the same things.
I think for a really, really long time, anger was kind of my default setting because it was the only emotion that I really understood about myself. I mean, I've talked about this at length on my channel. There were so many emotions that I just didn't experience until I left religion, like things like love and, joy and things like that, because I felt bad for feeling those things before, in a certain light. So anger was one of those things that I was allowed to feel. Sadness was one of those things that I was praised for feeling sadness in certain senses, which is really morbid, but I always felt that anger was like my default setting because there were so many things that like I was angry about. The underlying issue being that I was extremely repressed in so many senses. But now I feel like the anger is very much a passion. It's very much underlined with a passion to oh, that's not true. I want to say what's true, or oh, that's not fair. I want to do what's fair. Or like, I used to be so afraid of confrontation before, and now I live for it. Like, anytime anyone
Yeah.
gives an opportunity for confrontation, I'm here for it. And it's not necessarily going to be an angry confrontation. It's just going to be like, the fuck do you mean? Like, it's just going to be that. Like, what do you mean?
And then Faye wonders why I refer to her as a warrior.
Yeah, I totally agree. I used to be really shy and timid kind of in these conversations. And then, you know, I was a closet atheist. So like for about 10 years, I didn't speak about it at all. I didn't tell anybody I was an atheist. I finally started talking to it about it with my mom, like about 3 years before she passed away. She was the only person I talked to about it. She went and told my family. And at that point, when that happened, and I love my mom, I'm not speaking bad about her. She feared for my soul and did her thing, and it took her a few years to do it. But when it happened, that's where a lot of my anger came from, and the ways that I was approached from my family, and the very passive aggressive ways they went about trying to convert me back or try to make me feel guilty for the way that I was. I eventually just exploded. It happened on Facebook first, and then I made this page, and since then it's just been kind of like it all came out. Like I let it all out. 3 years. I let all that 10 years of shit I didn't say out, and now I really want to learn and combat the arguments and speak of why I believe the things I believe.
I really do think that we have that in common. Like, the last few times where I've been truly like out of my mind angry have been because of my family and things that they have said. And it's not necessarily even directed towards me. It's just like, for example, I lived in one of my uncle's houses after I left my father's house. And they will constantly not even blame him. They will blame his wife, who, I mean, she had nothing to do. They're constantly being like, oh, it's because you weren't hard enough on her. You gave her too much freedom. You let her dress like this or talk to these people. You let her get a job. You let her renew her passport. Like, now she has options. And it's things like that like really, really just throw me into an anger loop. And I just can't, like, the amount of arguments that I've roped myself into because of situations like that, where I was not involved at all. And because someone said something to that woman or some part of that family, I just become so defensive of, because I will never be able to pay that back, and they're still suffering because of me. You know?
So look, just real quick, on the subject of you and Naka being similar in ways, I don't know if the two of you remember this, but when I first had you on that stream where Naka was there, I remember DMing Naka or calling him and saying, hey, you got to come on this stream, you know, on such and such a night, because I'm having this lady on, Faye, and you guys are alike in so many ways.
Oh, we sound like a house on fire.
Yeah. It's every time I've talked to Faye, it's like I enjoy it so much. We need to do this more. I'm so terrible at getting OCD and just getting obsessed on shit.
Well, to be fair, the opportunity to just do a poetry live stream is still open.
Oh yeah, I forgot we talked about that. Yes, we got to do that, John.
Yeah, Faye, you never made the video where you were going to recite poetry?
I actually did. I've done 2 live dramatic readings.
Did you do mine? Did I send you?
I don't think so.
Oh, all right.
We gotta set one of those.
We'll do that. Allie's a writer too. Allie, do you write any poetry?
Oh yeah, I had.
Oh yeah, you sent me one before.
Yeah, I had 5 different poems published before I turned 19.
Oh yeah, we'll do this.
But I write some now. I haven't put anything out there for like anthologies or for collections or anything in a long fucking time, because my fiction career is the one that took off. Which reminds me, I do need to plug my book. My book is actually free this week until Friday. So if you guys are interested in reading my novel, I can post a link in the description and in the side chat if you guys are interested.
Yeah, I totally forgot.
Well, so hey,
at the moment I don't.
I think I overtalked Faye there. What was that, Faye?
Oh no, I'm just asking because I'm looking into getting published, but I don't know what the route is. I have no experience in it, and I'm kind of
I actually went independent because the amount of money that I've made being an independent writer, I've sold a decent number of copies of my book, and I'm actually making more money off of having gone indie than I would have even with the advance with the publishing contract I was offered.
You know, and the thing is too, there's so many services out there where you can sell your book and have it published just in time per order. You don't have to like do like traditional publishing houses where they just do a run of, you know, thousands of books and then go about selling them.
All right. Yeah, and so my advice, and I haven't researched it in quite a while. I haven't researched it probably in 4 years since I finished my last book that I never really actually tried to publish, but I researched publishing it, and I ultimately decided to try to go a more moderate indie route myself, because for the simple fact that even if you did get a big deal, that advance is expected to be paid back. And even with the marketing tools that they usually have at their discretion, it's kind of a crapshoot on whether or not you actually will. If you do,
there's no guarantee
you can usually
that they actually
have
will put the work in to market you properly, and you do have to pay back whatever part of your advance does not get, cashed out in sales.
Right. Mm. Yeah, it's just like every time I research it, I kind of just get lightheaded and think, "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow."
Yeah. Oh man, it's so tedious.
Well,
It
I've
is.
got
It's like the
contacts
worst
on both
part.
sides of the publishing industry, and I will say that I'm glad I went indie. I do want to respond earlier to you guys' conversation about Rage, because, Naka, I thought that you'd probably find this funny. The last time that I went into a white hot rage was on that fucking John Richards stream when he was doing all that, like, with that article. When he was doing the rape apology shit, I took that personally as fuck.
Yeah, well, that, and I mean, they're on private now, but the Misha Pop-Off streams, I think we both got in rage mode.
Oh yeah, I went total fucking Londoner during one of those because I got so fucking angry.
Hey, Allie, have you ever been an editor for another writer? Like, have you ever edited other people's work for them before publishing?
Oh yeah, I do freelance editing all the time.
Really?
I charge fairly, like, on the lower end of standards, but I do fairly standard rates for editing services.
Yeah, because once I get mine done, I might have you be the first read.
Well, sure. Depending, like, shoot me a message or an email. I can give you my email after the stream if you want. I charge different rates depending on the kind of editing you're looking for, but we can talk over it.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, I've been working on a book for, Jesus Christ, 4 years now. It's called The Apathy of Fear.
Oh, nice.
So, look, I'm gonna take charge here for a minute, and we're gonna start winding this down. We've been going
yeah, it's time.
2 hours now. And how about we'll let Faye go first and tell us about your channel.
So right now my channel, it looks like it's going through a rebrand. It isn't. I'm just not putting out as serious content right now because I really feel like in the current climate, with the coronavirus and everybody panicking, I just need to do things that are more lighthearted, because my audience is mainly non-religious people, and it's ex-Muslims, and ex-Muslims are, I don't know. I don't know exactly what they're going through because I'm no longer in it, but I was in it, and I know how hard it can be to be constantly stuck in your house with people that you just don't want to be around. So I'm just trying to make lighthearted content, just like come hang out with me kind of content. But my channel is Faye the Most Gracious. If you want to check it out and you want to just have some fun and get away from all the seriousness of life, you can come check me out. Twitter's also another platform that I haven't been using very much recently because I've noticed that it's just a driver. It's just asking for me to be upset with somebody. But you can follow me there. My handle is Rotten Fire, and I think I've been using Instagram a lot more, which is Faye the Most Gracious as well. So yeah, that's me.
And I'll just go ahead and go next and then toss it to Allie. And I'm sure, as Knock always does, he'll put all of our information in the
Yeah, I should have. I'm better at that now. I should have done it before. I don't know what the hell I was thinking today. I've been busy today.
So yeah, again, sometime the beginning of April, you'll see episode number 2 of the Apostate Alliance here on this channel, which at that time will be changed to The Rage, the name of it. And then we'll go from there every other week with that podcast, and maybe pick it up once a week if we get a lot of interest in it. I want to tell folks that are listening now and who might be listening in the future when this post is a video. One thing I'm going to have Naka do is in my information in the video description, I'm going to have them put my email in there. If you know of an ex-Muslim that would like to come on and tell their story, please have them email me. If you hear of a news article that has something to do with an atheist in a Muslim country being persecuted, please email me a link to that article. And then, as Ali alluded to at the beginning of the broadcast, and something that I, came up with when I constructed this podcast, is if you are an ex-Muslim and you want to come on and tell your story, please be aware that you can be completely anonymous. You can use an avatar. You don't have to be on camera. And like Ali said, there are many different apps out there that we can use to modulate your voice so that nobody would ever know who you are if you want it that way. So the only other thing I'll say, as far as my channel, the Amateur Conversationalist, me and Nakasuchi have been talking, and he's already a manager on my channel, and I'll be extending management duties to Liakai as well. And then what we're going to possibly do is that channel will be utilized for like one-on-one conversations, whether it be myself and someone else or Nak or Ali. But look for that in the future as well. And I will toss it to Ali.
Hey guys, so if you didn't catch it earlier, I am going to be launching the Pissed Off Polytheist content fairly soon, and I'm baptizing myself in Trollfire because I figured out that I was scared of criticism. And I'm openly admitting this because I've gotten over it, but I figured out that that was part of the reason that I had been putting off taping it. So I was like, okay, so what's the absolute worst thing I could possibly do to force myself to endure a shit ton of it? I know, Steven Anderson just pissed me off. I'm going to go after the NIFB. So the very first Pissed Off Polytheist episode is going to be on Steven Anderson's horrendous sermon on coronavirus, where he calls it a plague that came down from God to punish city dwellers. Or rather, where he tries to pretend that he's just implying that and basically outright says it. So you'll get to see a bit more of my opinion on that. Also, over on Sticks and Stonehenge, and Nock can actually attest to the fact that this footage exists because I sent it to him so he could make fun of me. Our very first response video to Spirit Science is coming out sometime in the next week or two. I've been working my ass off on it. I've learned a bunch of effects. I'm fucking terrible as a video editor, so, again, everybody gets to make fun of me, and I'm completely welcoming it, but I'm working my butt off to try to do that. So, if you guys aren't subscribed yet on Sticks and Stonehenge, I know a lot of people here are, but if you're not, it's STYX and Stonehenge.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've been doing edited content. That'll be coming out. I'll have a video out tomorrow. Might do an open room tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see how I feel tomorrow. I do have some stuff to do coronavirus wise and apartment wise and all that stuff. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But I'm really excited about the direction of the channel. I'm excited about Apostate Alliance being here. I'm excited that John is back. Feel super good about the direction. I think that we're on the right course. Moderators, we will be having a mod meeting to where you can come in and voice your opinions. Not a dictatorship, but really trying to open it up, make it a place people want to come back to. Feel free to comment in the comment sections. So yeah, we'll be doing that in the next few days. But outside of that, I've put a lot of work into this and a lot of thought into this. I think that this is the best direction. And I think that we're going to get a little bit of best of all worlds here. And I'm really excited to try to get back to that open room setup to where I would just show up, say, fuck it, I'm going to do an open room. Anybody that wants to come in and talk to me can. Atheist, if you don't like how I go about it, come in and confront me. If you think that I'm a SJW and you want to call me out on that, come in and confront me. Christians, we've had so much fun together. Let's do it again. So, yeah, we're going to get back to that. Seeing Red is going to be consistent. We've been talking about the days. I believe, John, y'all are still be doing it on Sundays, right?
Well, that's open to interpretation. I know that one thing is whatever day we choose, of course, we'll choose a day that doesn't conflict with anything that you and Allie are doing. But at times it will be an evening thing. And then other times it will be like a middle of the day thing, because we're going to have people, from overseas.
Well, yeah, and Faye herself is so far ahead of us. So,
it's fine. I'm pretty flexible. My circadian rhythms are all fucked, so it's fine.
Yeah, and right now, as long as we all have internet, we all have plenty of fucking time. So
Well, and on the subject of knocking open rooms, by the way, that all y'all bitches that were bitching about me still have not come on for that Allie versus the Room stream.
Well, yeah,
if you're a Christian or you're an atheist that has a fucking problem with me, and you want to get into a debate about literally anything, like that's open.
With you.
Well, I really want, and John, feel free too, but Allie, I want you to have solo open rooms, and John, fuck it, man. Conversation. I want the channel to be about conversation and not so much. I'm still gonna do the videos that I have always done, but at the same time, I want it to be about arguments and conversation.
So Naka, you want to tell Faye about the shitstorm that happened when I was brought on the channel?
Oh, it's so long. Well, I mean, it used to be the Wild West here back in the Google Hangout days. And that's how me and John first met. John's been here from the very beginning. One of the very first open rooms probably is when I met John. And I would just open it up. I'd show up. I wouldn't announce it. I'd just open up the room and be like, whoever wants to come and talk to a Raging Atheist, come and talk to a Raging Atheist. And I had so many show up, like Standing for Truth, Darth Dawkins, NIFB, Matt Powell. I mean, just the list goes on and on. We've had a lot of fun, and I want to get back to that. I got away from it because it got crazy.
Well,
hey, real quick, I just want to say
about the criticism of me that happened for a while, because that's why we did.
Oh yeah. People think that I'm ran by polytheist and that I don't make decisions for myself, and I'm like, that's like fucking absurd. I'm the most hard-headed person in the history of the universe.
Hey, real quick, I just want to comment real quick on. Allie saying, hey, these people wanted to come and challenge me, and they didn't. I don't know if you noticed. I think you did. I think you said something about Allie at the beginning of the stream when Matt Powell said, oh, set it up. Immediately after that post, he posted, just kidding. Yeah. So I don't think he's going to even take you up.
Yeah, they don't know how to talk to polytheists. They're used to talking to us atheists.
I mean, I'd even be willing to debate him on ground he's quote-unquote comfortable on. Like, you keep asking people, Matt Powell, oh, do you have actual in-lab experience that helps you prove evolution? Guess what, motherfucker? I do. I volunteered at a museum for years
could be the
doing fossil
polytheist
preparation and other things. So,
No,
you
I'm
want to
not gonna
debate
tell you
this
that.
shit, I would do that.
I was about to tell you, he's like really desperate for people to come on his new movie, part 2 to Science Falsely So Called. I was going to say, like, you should do it. And then I was like, oh, no, wait. Yeah, it's Matt Powell. And he's just going to butcher everything you say and cut it together to make
Wait a minute, though. Doesn't a movie have to be successful before you decide to do a what do you call it? A sequel to it?
Yeah, I mean, I claim success for most of it. Just, he butchered me, but I'm still pretty.
All right. So anyhow,
do we want to give Faye a chance to speak before we close out? Because she did try to cut in earlier.
Oh no, I was just asking, can I have an open room? Because that might make things a lot more.
Hell yeah, anytime. Fuck yeah, like I would love that. Yeah. You would need probably John to set you up. But yeah, hell yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
John or me or Allie, any one of us could probably set it up.
Well, you could. Do you have StreamYard on your computer?
Yeah, I can get StreamYard.
Yeah, that's what I use. I mean, I don't use the paid version like Knock does because, and especially for like an open room, you just need to be able to bring people in and talk, and you don't have to worry about like all the bells and whistles, like as far as like a bumper video and intro, outro, all that stuff.
And you're also welcome. Like anybody's welcome to the open rooms. Like for StreamYard, you have 6 people. That's why, like, I would really hope we could figure out how to use Zoom again. But right now, Zoom is just being really stubborn when it comes to streaming.
Yeah, Zoom is not the easiest platform to use for streaming. I've found that StreamYard's probably the easiest.
Yeah,
I wish they would make it so you could have more than 6 people on.
Yeah, that's the one thing about StreamYard.
Okay, I have a question. Why would you want more than 6 people?
Well, in the golden days, we had 10.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I said long ago, me and Knock and Allie talked about it long ago about, have smaller rooms are easier to manage. But sometimes it is fun to have, like a bunch of people on and really have
just
a
so
shit
many.
show.
The best shows were when we had 10 people and it would be just a wide range of different personalities and beliefs. And it would just become this clusterfuck of a shit show between several different people at the same time. I mean, it was beautiful.
Then it's not a conversation, it's just a screen.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
eventually why we changed everything. That's how me and Ali met, was like, I need moderators, and Ali's like, I'm a moderator.
Yeah, and Cyrus actually recommended me. Cyrus was like, Ali's good people, and I'm like, yeah, I used to actually moderate like college debates and shit. So like I did that in a semi-hobbyist professional capacity, so I've got experience.
So yeah, I do think 6 people is a good number, but then if you do end up having just a couple of your friends on that are like-minded, then it really becomes hard to fill the room with the 3 opposite like-minded people. And then sometimes you just want to have all of your friends on, and you can't have any opposite minded people. So I mean, it does become a little bit, but I do think overall 6 people is a pretty decent number.
Hey, I want to start an internet campaign. I want Aliakai to be the moderator at a presidential debate later this year.
Shit, I wish you could do it now and we could actually get progressive questions between Biden and Sanders.
That would be amazing.
It would be a fucking bloodbath. But we are gonna get out of here. We have been going super long. It's been so long, John and Faye. I feel like we could probably talk all fucking night.
But I need to go to sleep.
It's super late for Faye. So we are gonna get out of here, guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Again, still no outro. I was working on the rebrand all day. Outro will be coming, and more information on it. We'll talk about it as we go along. Sunday, do we have anything lined up Sunday, Ali?
At the moment we don't, but we had talked about potentially doing another one of those article type review things where we're not responding to a video, but where we deep dive sort of into a topic.
All right, yeah. So we'll probably do something along those lines. But all right, guys, we're gonna get out of here. Thank you so much, and as always, be the rage, yo.